I think that there are a lot of opportunities for using different fuels, different feedstocks within the combustion engine, within the transportation system. Some of those alternative fuels may have different combustion characteristics. Now, we don't really know how those different fuels will behave. And without doing the fundamental research, it's going to be hard to do any scale up of any level without getting to a point where we can do it efficiently and effectively.
And there's a lot of different drivers, both on economic side, interest in terms of environment, and also financial interest. And that's one of the sides that comes with the heavy-duty sector. For example, it's transportation of goods. So there's fuel consumption, and the amount of fuel and what's being consumed by the vehicles represents a cost to the consumer in the end, and also an operating cost for the business.
The Volvo team, they're incorporating some of the technologies that they explored in the Super Truck One demonstrator vehicle and engine already in their 2017 product offerings. Their projection was that something like 350 million gallons of fuel would be saved by Volvo customers because of the technologies that got implemented stemming from Super Truck One already in the 2017 product offerings. So over the next 5 years, 350 million gallons of fuel. That's one of the, I think, the exciting things about Co-Optima. You have VTO and you've got BTO working together to come up with low greenhouse gas fuels, considering the impacts, etc. But then you've got all of us engine engineers also trying to come up with either new engine platforms and strategies or optimizing the current engine strategies to get to this combination of low emissions and high efficiency.
The DOE Co-Optima effort looks at taking a bunch of different fuels and blending them simultaneously. One aspect we can look at is using renewable fuels, whether it is ethanol, isobutanol, butanol, or any other renewables, to best extend the efficiency of the engine, which then ultimately improves the fuel economy for the end user.
We're basically going to a new generation of fuels that we have very little experience with in practical devices. And in particular, we don't know if those fuels will work or not within the real situation, the engine. So we're going to use models, in essence, to screen those fuels in advance and to find the fuels that work with these different combustion modes, whether they're conventional spark ignition or the advanced combustion modes that will also be explored during Co-Optima.
Normally we just have a little bit sample. So we want to quickly tell people what is the ignition performance of fuel. Is this suitable for the running of certain engine conditions, right? So we just want to use a little bit of fuel and quickly tell people the ignition performance.
It's much less costly to identify the fuels and especially in exotic conditions that might be interesting for future combustion device designs. And so if you can screen the fuels and conditions that are interesting, you can ignore the ones that are not.
It's a process. So the process starts with the fuel, and once we have the fuel, we try to test the fuel in a spark ignition engine setup, in a compression ignition engine setup, and we generate data. Being in National Lab, our strength is to actually generate the experimental data and the simulation results. These experimental data and the high fidelity simulation results actually go into a database. OEMs can actually access this database to learn what experiments have been done, what simulations have been done, and that's going to actually help them guide what fuels are suitable for their engine or what modifications need to go in the engine.
Everybody knows about all the work on electric and hybrid vehicles, but it's also known that conventional engines, the engines that you have in your car today, those engines will be around for many decades yet to come. And what we are doing here on the Advanced Ignition project is basically to make those engines better. So the development effort on those conventional engines is not done, it's not finished, it's continuing.
So having the ability to have a strategy for running this engine and this combustion system on a variety of different fuels and fuel blend stocks, being able to take the same approach so that we can compare all of these different fuels and operating strategies, apples to apples to apples, every time, all the time, consistently. That's why we do this kind of work at national labs and universities. This is where the understanding portion of all of this science comes from.